From the 30s into the 50s, body surfing and mat surfing was the standard at Ocean Beach. Hazardous conditions drove most of the San Francisco swimmers to Fleischacker Pool or Sutro Baths and away from the ocean. Board surfing at Ocean Beach was a random act until the late 40s, when a small group of beach lovers decided it was time to try it out.
People came out there, but there was no discernible sociology. We were not known by, and nobody in the city knew what the hell surfing even was. They didn't know the word, you know what I mean? I really liked that part of it, of being just on the outs. I didn't expect to be a surfer when I grew up, and it sort of surprised me, because I thought, you know, you'd surf for a few years, then go on and live this meaningful adult life. And then I got to be an adult, and I realized that nobody was leading a meaningful adult life. It was all messed up, you know?
You know, that's when I was a kid. I'd ride my bicycle by in the winter, and there'd be a guy out there, just massive, you know, 10 to 15 feet, just bitter cold, offshore winds. He'd be out there all by himself, no wetsuit, just a pair of Speedos. And you just like, unbelievable, that guy's crazy. You'd watch for an hour before he'd catch a wave, or maybe you'd just watch for an hour and then you'd just get annihilated by some cleanup set.
In those days, it was essential to have a bonfire on the beach because you couldn't handle the cold without it. And the fire was kind of like the hub of the social scene at the beach, and that's where you got to know one another.
We'd hang at the nice warm fire. We'd have our own little tribe down there, you know? Just, good fun, a lot of laughing, and we'd always just go right back out in the water.
You built a fire, 4 guys go out, 1 guy stays there and keeps the fire rolling, right? First guy wipes out, board washes to the beach, he swims to the beach without a wetsuit on, he's frozen, so he runs up to the fire, and then the guy that was stoking the fire, he's out, right? So you kind of rotate. Well, they always had a fire down at Kelly's no matter what, but there was a price of admission. To get into the fire, you had to bring wood. And then they made you stand at the smoky end of the fire.
You kind of earned your right where you stood at the fire. There was no leashes and the boards were a lot heavier. I was good for 3 swims and I was home, that was it.
You know, Jose Angels from San Francisco and Fred Van Dyke, and those guys used to surf it without wetsuits, and it's just a colossal achievement. You know, that's what came before.
It really was in the head, and it was in desire, motivation, because I was so motivated to ride waves that the cold water, I didn't like it, but I said, so what?
The desire to surf longer sessions drove a passion to experiment with ways to keep warm.
Everybody was trying anything to stay warm. So that's when I started playing with the neoprene. It didn't have much tensile strength, so I put a sheet of thin plastic over it because I figured the water would run off and you wouldn't have that cooling by evaporation. But that was kind of like a straitjacket compared to what we have today.
Surfing big waves in Bay Area conditions was still challenging enough that it was left to a small band of diehards. As the equipment progressed, they realized that you could surf those outside bombs at the beach if the conditions were right and you had the right board. There was a particular swell that really stands out in people's minds on November 27, 1974.
It was as big and as clean as I've ever seen it. And none of us knew where the swell came from or what the duration or the size, because we never followed that. You know, you went to the beach, it was there or it wasn't.
Blair, he got the wave of the day pretty much, just took off. Offshore, caught the nose of his board, flipped his board over his head, and he just put a foot down forward, and he just rocketed straight down. Oh, he just had everybody. It must have been 100 people on the seawall just screaming and yelling and hooting.
It's like riding a rodeo, you know what I mean? A lot of fun to be able to hurl your body and project from here to across the stream, or just nose right on a little wave. Not everybody gets to do that.
My age and stage, it's a spiritual thing. It's a purification. It's my way of meditating. So it brings me peace, calm, health.
When I used to work in San Francisco and get all screwed up, I could come down and jump in the ocean, catch a wave, and everything's okay again.
I was fortunate to live most of my life on the Great Highway. I couldn't think of any other place that I'd rather be. I had the whole world behind me, and I didn't really care about what was behind me. I only cared what was in front of me.